Dzień dobry, and welcome to another episode of Brit and Poland. This episode is going to be a bit reflective. After, well, almost 8 years living in this country and over 5 years working on this channel, I need to return home for a time. I have some family issues I need to attend to. And although I guess I'll be gone for about 3 months, it would be, let's say, a significant portion of time away. And this video is going to reflect on the journey I've had in Poland, particularly about discovering this country. I want to reflect on some of the things I've learned, talk about the places I've been, and perhaps the motivations behind why I feel compelled to explore Poland, and what is it about this country that keeps me positive and keeps me searching for more. So please stay tuned as we go into my quest to discover Poland. Dzień dobry and welcome to A Brit in Poland. With this channel, I travel across the country, I bring you the culture, and I show you just how amazing Poland is. So I invite you on my journey. If you want to see more, I have Facebook and Instagram profiles, which you will find links to in the description below. And if you want to really help out, you can turn to my Patreon or Patronite accounts, again in the description. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like, share and subscribe. Do zobaczenia. First of all, I want to assure regular viewers of this channel that despite being away for a time, I've taken so many trips that I have enough video to keep me going for a long time, and a lot more places to share with you. But let's start at the beginning. If you really want to know why I'm in Poland, I suggest you check out my main intro video. I'll put a link. But effectively, when I came here originally, I didn't know how long I was going to be staying. It was supposed to be a few months in the beginning, and it, well, obviously expanded from that. And in the first year, my main focus was getting to know Warsaw, making friends, building connections, establishing like a firm life. And that's all I was thinking about. That then expanded, and I went with my family to Krakow. That was my first trip outside of Warsaw, and my first glimpse of, let's say, wider Poland. I know, it's a bit stereotypical, right? Making Krakow one of my first points of call. And actually, that was all at that point. I hadn't even thought about doing a channel. All I'd thought about was just enjoying life, to be honest, and I enjoyed life very much. Then the following year, through some work colleagues and relationship, I was able to do a little bit more exploration. I went to Wrocław, and then I went to Zakopane and saw Morskie Oku. And, so I'm getting a bit of a wider appreciation. And my next trip after that was to kind of Gdansk, Gdynia, Sopot again, with a couple of colleagues. So I was starting to build up a little bit of a picture of Poland, seeing the mountains, seeing the sea, and some of the cities. The following year, well, I got into another relationship, and it was with someone who was, very enthusiastic about travel. And she was, enthusiastic about me making videos, and she helped me to, let's say, focus less on myself and focus more on Poland. And at that time, I kind of learned some, let's say, tools and got some inspiration to do more of my solo travels. So I went to cities such as Poznan and Lublin, and a few other places throughout Poland. But ultimately, it kind of set me on the path. And I think my first breakthrough video for me was the one I did about Łódź, which I'm going to remake, by the way. But it was the first video where I actually noticed I was getting quite a few views, and it kind of made me think, okay, maybe there's a future to this. And then the next big change came, I think, when I joined Warsaw Global. And with Warsaw Global, it kind of gave me a group that I could travel with more. And it made it possible to meet a lot more of new people and to get a lot of really good ideas of places to go. And now I probably have more trips than I know what to do with. And even though I hit most of my goals this year for traveling, I still have a long list, and I've already compiled a list of must-see places for next year. So the journey is going ever onwards, and the more of Poland I see, the more I realize there is to discover. Because Poland, it's got a very mixed history. Every region has a different story because the country has changed shape so much over the years. And you need to see the places to really understand what they're truly like. Now, in this section of the video, I want to kind of highlight to you just how much of Poland I've seen. I admit I still have a long way to go, but hopefully you'll get a better idea. So I use various tools to help me determine, where I'm going to go to in the country. I'm going to start with my map. So this is like my tracker. So here you have all of the different regions of Poland, various highlighted cities, and every red dot here represents a place that I've been to. Now you're probably saying, oh, I haven't seen a video for here, I haven't seen a video for here. So that will be for one of two reasons. One, I just haven't got around to it yet. I do have quite a big backlog of videos. Two, maybe I went to a place and I felt I didn't get enough footage, or maybe I missed something crucial. So I also have a list of places that I intend to go back to one day. Now, when it comes to Poland, obviously I'm based here in Warsaw. So every place I've gone to is 99% of it is by train, a little bit by bus. Sometimes I've been lucky and I've had a friend who's been going on a trip that's invited me along, and we've gone by car. But most of this is by public transport, and do feel free to check out my my public transport video for tips on how you can get to various places. One thing I would also recommend is to check out my playlists, because I have done a playlist for almost every region. I've tried not to do a playlist where there are too few videos, because certain regions I need to go back to and explore more of. But yeah, so you can see I've been to pretty much every extreme corner of the country, and I have a lot more planned. When it comes to my favorite parts of Poland, I have to be honest, Lower Silesia is probably my gut favorite. I really love the Sudety Mountains.
And I've just encountered lots of really cool spa towns, really cool castles, and, you know, proper stone castles. This area is also very nice, of course, Gdansk. It's going to be picturesque. But I really have loved so many different parts of Poland. I finally got a decent look around Rzeszów and places like that this year. Loved it. Really can't wait to see more of Podkarpacia. And Lesser Poland is one of those places which I intend to explore a great deal as well. But each year, I don't just focus on like one region. I generally go by a kind of priority list. But how do I establish that? So this was a passing gift from my first work. And it's 100 places to visit in Poland. My general rule is I scratch off a place once I've made a video about it. It's kind of a completionist thing. So there are a number of places on here that I haven't quite reached yet. I will show a close-up when I get into the video. There are a couple I've maybe scratched off by mistake, which I will go back to one day. But yeah, so this is a pretty good guide. It's sort of grouped by region, like Lower Silesia at the top. Odds and sods kind of it. Well, yeah, this is like Western Pomerania, Greater Poland, like all these different regions, and a few randomly placed ones. And it's pretty good. You know, it's taken me to a lot of interesting cities, a lot of cool nature spots, but then it's taken me to places like Tychy. No offense to Tychy, but it's not exactly a touristy place. And the brewery, though it's nice, I would have said, look, the Perwa Brewery is a more interesting site to visit. But, you know, that's me being specific. Now, I treated this one to myself. So this is my castle poster. And it's like another scratch off. So every time I've made a video about a castle, I will scratch that off. On this poster, there are 196 castles or palaces listed. I can tell you, I've probably been to at least a dozen places that aren't included here. Maybe they were considered too small. Maybe they weren't considered touristy enough. I don't know what the criteria was from the people who made this poster. But I love how it has like romantic castles. So I've got this one to scratch off when I get to the video. This one I hopefully will go to next year to complete the set. You have haunted castles. Now pretty much every castle in Poland has some kind of ghost story, but I guess these are the more famous ghost stories. And then you have what they call the top 10. Annoyingly, about half of the top 10 is in this region here between Częstochowa and Krakow, which is called the Eagle's Nest Trail. This is an ambition of mine. It's something like 100 kilometers in total to walk the trail. So it would need to be broken up into a few different spells, shall we say, either by camping or using hotels. So it's a bigger thing. I'm trying to work on this with some friends, but it is on my agenda. I really hope to be able to see all these castles. This year I focused in Jelenia Góra, so I'm soon going to be able to cross off about 10 or so from this list, which is again a big achievement for me. And here, this is a birthday gift I got for some friends, and this is a map of Polish breweries. Sadly, it's a little bit out of date. Some of these breweries are no longer existing, and not all of them can be visited. So it's a little bit harder. I'm just kind of going by, if I've drunk the beer, I think it's fair to tick off the brewery. If it's a specific site, I will tick it off when I visit that specific site. But yes, this is basically one of the many ways I determine where to go in Poland and how I keep track of my massive agenda. But awesome. Now wait till you see this. So this is my fridge. Now, admittedly, I didn't start collecting fridge magnets until a little bit into my journey, so maybe in the first year or so I perhaps didn't quite capture everything. But gradually, I'm making up for that. I wonder what will happen when I actually run out of space.
So now let's go into some of my favourite places, starting with Wrocław, the capital of Dolny Śląsk, and full of dwarves, bridges, and old buildings. Definitely a must-see, especially Cathedral Island if you're there. It's a real interesting mix of architecture, and it has one of the best Christmas markets in Poland. I would really recommend this place. Coming up at number 2, Kazimierz Dolny. Now, this place is just beautiful. It's basically a valley next to the Vistula River, and here you have a whole series of gorges, and the place is an artist colony, so there are plenty of galleries and some nice little bits of nature walking to enjoy. Third up, we are going to go to a little region which I'm sad that the video didn't do better, but the colourful lakes in Lower Silesia. And here you just get such a cool variety of colours due to the minerals, and I've never seen anything like it, so it was a really cool place to visit. Bit of a hike, but worth it. Next, we're going to go to Suwałki. So this is a place I finally got to this year. Technically the coldest place in Poland, but if you go in the summer, there's no issues there. You have a massive lake district, some beautiful forests, and this cool monastery as well. One of Poland's most beautiful scenic areas, well worth the visit. And we will go to Toruń. Now, Toruń is Poland's capital of gingerbread. It is also a medieval city with an old Teutonic fortress and is the home of Mr. Copernicus. So I really, really recommend.
In this section, I want to reflect on, let's say, some of the impressions I've had and the reasons I found to keep on going. So, when I started to go from place to place in Poland, one of the things that struck me was how much variety there was. You know, it wasn't a case of, you know, you go to this city, you can say, oh, I've been here. It's very much like A, B, and C. No, in fact, I found every place I went to in Poland had a rather strong sense of self to it, a strong sense of identity. And it was very interesting, actually. I find these different aspects to each city which I would latch onto and try to reflect in my videos as best I could. So, for a start, the architecture in Poland is quite variable. And there's good reason for that. I mean, Poland has been, let's say, occupied by a lot of different countries over the years, and a lot of them left their mark. In addition to, of course, you know, the traditional Polish styles, which you'll see as well. So, if you go to Wrocław, you'll see very, very different buildings than the ones you would see in, say, Gdansk or in Krakow. Of course, you do have some of the, say, Soviet era things remaining, which are perhaps not as pretty. But every city has a unique kind of touch of beauty to it. And what I also found is, as well as the architecture, you get a lot of unique features to a city, whether that be, you know, specific museums that they've put together, and some of them have been truly outstanding. One's off the top of my head, of course, the Poland Museum here in Warsaw, along with the Uprising Museum. There's an incredible museum in Suwałki for Maria. Okay, I'm not going to butcher her surname, but I'll show you some clips and you can figure that out. In Gdansk, you have places like the Solidarity Museum, which were incredibly powerful at storytelling and really giving you an insight into Poland's communist era. And dotted throughout every city, you have something. And then there are, you know, some of the quirky things. So one of the things that Wrocław is famous for example, are the literally hundreds, if not thousands now, of dwarves you can find dotted around the city. And one thing I found, especially in recent years, is more and more cities are doing this kind of thing. In fact, I'll probably do a whole video on this at some point. But what it does is when you go to a city, it gives you like a little treasure hunt to do. And being a bit of a gamer, at least in previous times, it really kind of brought out the kind of collectible aspect of nature. So I was busy scouring through, looking at maps, trying to capture shots of everything. And it's just, yeah, just a fun little quirky thing. And then one of the things that really impresses me is the variety of nature in Poland. And I think once I've visited a few more places, I'm going to be doing more summaries of this. But even if you look, well, Poland has everything, effectively. Every kind of nature that you could look for, you will find here in some respect. In the south of the country, you have mountain ranges all along that border with Slovakia and Czechia and with like Ukraine. And each mountain range is quite distinctive. My particular favorite areas to go are more the Sudetes. They're not quite as harsh, for someone who's like, let's say, a moderate hiker. And the giant rocks that you see are quite outstanding. Of course, most people would probably point you to the Tatry Mountains, which are, of course, Poland's most famous range. And yeah, they definitely should be seen. But then you have the beautiful seaside in Poland, and I've been to quite a few like seaside places now. There's obviously a lot more than, say, Gdansk and Sopot for that. You know, you have your places like Kołobrzeg, Świnoujście, Mielno. And each of these places, again, has a kind of distinctive charm and really gives it that kind of nice holiday feel. There are many beautiful nature reserves in Poland, and yeah, while some of the ones are maybe a little bit newer, maybe less than 100 years old, where the trees have been replanted, you do have some very historical places like Białowieża, for example, which is actually like one of the oldest if not the oldest forest in the whole of Europe. And a lot of these national parks, they do offer some very interesting trails to follow, as well as a few hidden surprises tucked away. And bizarrely, you even have kind of desert features in Poland. There are a number of places I've gone where there have been dunes. And this isn't restricted to seaside places like Weber. It's even in some of the forests, you find that sand has been carried over. And there is an artificial desert near Krakow, which I'm still aiming to get to one day. But as I say, Poland is a land of variety and is absolutely full of so many of these sites to discover. And the completionist in me really wants to see it all. I know in my lifetime I could probably only hope to cover, let's say, some of the main highlights. But yeah, we will see. Of course, as well as the, let's say, more physical aspects of discovery in Poland, the beautiful architecture, the wonderful, beautiful nature that can be found in this country. There is so much more to be discovered here. The people in Poland are beautiful, even when they're swearing. They can swear a lot. But I've met such incredible people here, very warm and generous souls, people that have been very welcoming, people who are, very keen to talk about their country, about its history, very keen to complain or to share some dark meme here or there. Whether I've met people through work or, say through a Warsaw Global event, or just randomly talking to somebody in a bar at some point. I've had such fascinating conversations, and I've really loved the spirit. People are, when you get to know them, they're actually pretty open here. They're very honest. And they're, in general, quite passionate people, and they have a better idea of what they want to do with their lives, in my experience. So the people are ultimately what makes a country. And the people of Poland have been very good to me. And I do my best to be good back. Yeah, it's partly because of the people that I was sort of motivated to do these videos. Because, as I've said a lot in other videos, a lot of people, they don't know anything about Poland. Most people haven't even been. And it's a country that really offers so much. And of course, I've enjoyed exploring some of the food you find here. And yeah, probably I'll do more detailed videos about the food, but you get all kinds of very interesting regional dishes, whether it be some soup made with some unique fish, or bread in the shape of like a cockerel, to all kinds of different dumplings, pierogi. There's all kinds of regional specialities, and it's been fun to kind of explore those a bit. But even just the staple Polish diet, which is a bit more traditional, kind of meat and veg, a lot of added cabbage and beetroot to that. It's always well prepared. It's been very rare for me to go to any restaurant and have a bad meal. And then there is the Polish culture. And culture here is expressed in so many ways. And every city has a different way. Of course, you have so many glorious churches to explore. I haven't even tried to count how many of those I've seen. But we must be into the hundreds by now. Each one with, its own unique beauty. Okay, some of them are a little bit plain, but most of them are quite extraordinary. I think the one that stands out most in my mind is there was one with an amber altar in Gdansk, which, I need to remake that Gdansk video. I've heard quite a lot of Polish music, not just the ever infamous disco polo, which everybody here loves to hate. But I have friends who are musicians. I've been to see their performances. I've been to see a few live acts, a few charity concerts, and I've been at plenty of house parties where people have just put some nice Polish music on in the background. And there is such a variety of art. As I've often said, that there are people, artists like Beksiński, who I particularly enjoy. He just has this dark, very deep style, which I find rather compelling. But in my time, I've been to many national museums, many art galleries, been exposed to many different Polish painters, and some of the styles are a little bit quirky, but ultimately there has been that expression. And one of the things that really makes me want to continue exploring and learning more about Poland is the passion of the people to actually preserve this culture. Because if it wasn't for that passion, if it wasn't for that spirit, Poland would not be what it is today. For a country that even had to fight to keep its own language, its history, a country that has had to rebuild countless times due to war, whether it be the Swedes, the Russians, the Austro-Hungarians, the Germans, whoever you want to name that's attacked this country, Poland has always come out strong, and they've always rebuilt, and Warsaw is a wonderful testament to that. To think that pretty much everything you're seeing on the video today was complete rubble only about 70 years ago. Absolutely incredible what they're able to achieve in this country. And what I notice is it's always being developed further. In Warsaw, I'm always seeing some kind of construction going on, something being rebuilt, made better. It's quite an impressive spirit. Of course, it takes money, but I think it's money well spent, and there are many projects underway which could really make a big difference. But ultimately, there are so many things to inspire me to continue exploring Poland. And every year that desire gets stronger as I learn more and more, experience more and more. I can never wait for that next journey. So, although I feel that I've hit many milestones in my, let's say, documenting of Poland and the many wonders there are, I feel like I'm not even halfway in what I'm trying to accomplish here. And one thing to bear in mind is we are living in very uncertain times right now. Although most people in Poland will tell you that they don't think an attack is likely from Russia, you never know what the future will hold. But they do know that if Poland is attacked, then we can call it World War III. And to think there is this danger that everything that Poland has worked so hard to rebuild could be lost once again. It's not something I think about too much, but it is a consideration that the work I do now is helping to preserve the memory of what Poland has really achieved and what is so incredible about this country. And at this stage, I've literally made, well, maybe 130, maybe more, videos documenting different parts of Poland. Quite a handful of Polish traditions have been covered, and a lot of reflections shared about this incredible country. But as I kind of sit down and I think about the future, I think to myself, okay, it would be nice to do some more summary videos. And what I mean by that are videos that highlight particular aspects of Poland and the places to find them. And I've sat down with ChatGPT on a few occasions and tried to put together, say, top 10 of this, top 10 of that. And you know what I find? I'm always about 60% of making one of those videos. And this tells me that I still have a long journey ahead of me to really capture all the different things there are to see in this country, to really get to all of the greatness that can be found. It feels like a never-ending journey, even though Each year I go in with my wish list, and each year I come out of the year with an even bigger wish list. One thing I'm trying to document are Polish castles, for example. Being a proud Englishman, we love our castles, and Poland certainly doesn't disappoint. There are a lot. In fact, I have a whole poster full of, sadly not all of them, but certainly all of the main ones worth seeing. And I feel like I've barely dented that poster. I'm trying to only cross them off once I've made a video about them. And I have probably about 10 more castles to cover in footage I've taken alone this year. But it always highlights extra things. I was thinking about doing a video about, say, the life of, Copernicus. And then I realized, okay, so at this point there are 2 or 3 cities that are very strongly connected with Copernicus that I haven't been to yet. I think of doing some more guides to help people, help encourage people to visit Poland, but also to show them where they should start. Which cities are the ones worth highlighting, especially for people who haven't been to this country before and are thinking of coming. Because Poland is a big country with a lot to see, a lot of variety. And before I came here, I honestly had no idea where to start. Having Warsaw as a base was very helpful. It's a very good place to live, very safe place to live, full of wonderful things. You can never be bored in Warsaw. But one thing I can tell you now is, you think of pretty much any place in Poland, I intend to do a video about it at some point. And I value your help. And yes, I could bang on about Patreon and Patronite and stuff like that, but I know times are tough for people, so yeah, it's also reflected in how little money I take in on these platforms. But I would just ask for your help by watching the videos that I produce. If you think there's a particularly good one, maybe share it with some friends. I'm really trying to grow this channel into something I can call a career rather than a hobby. But this channel has really given my life, I would say, extra meaning. It's made me very happy. And some of my favorite memories here are the times that I've spent kind of exploring Poland, even if I'm just on my own, wandering through a city, trekking up a mountain, hobbling along a beach. Yeah, my feet have certainly felt the toll. At one point I replied to a rather skeptical comment saying I bled for Poland, and this is actually true. Yeah, sometimes my journey does get a bit intense. But one thing I can say for sure, even though I'm going to be away for a bit now, when I get back to Poland, there's going to be an awful lot to see. It's going to be an awful lot to cover. And this journey, it feels like it's just begun. And it has a long way to go. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate every comment, every view, every like, every share. It all helps. And maybe you'll probably expect me to record a couple of videos while I'm back in the UK. For sure, I will have some inspiration about that. And yes, I will be complaining. But one thing I can say about Poland is it doesn't give me much to complain about. It's giving me a lot of happiness, a lot of independence, and a lot of hope for the future. But anyway, thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Do zobaczenia.